Okay, I think we'll start now. Welcome to the webinar, everybody, on customer side digital transformation. My name is Eric Rustamji, and I am a strategic director at Hansas Equity in the digital experience practice. I help work with design thinking as well as create experience designs for a multitude of our clients. It's been an interesting journey for me so far, and the work we've done has expanded across many different industries, many different types of technologies, and a lot of interesting projects have come along the way. We'll explore some of those projects in this webinar, as well as sort of create a perspective of transformation and specifically customer side digital transformation. So let's just start off by talking about the age of the customer and what that really is. The age of the customer, as defined by David Cooperstein from Forrester, is a 20-year business cycle that the most successful enterprises will reinvent themselves systematically and really using the power of the customers. And we'll explore that in a deeper way and thinking about focusing everything around the customer, thinking about how the customers empower as well as are empowered. So you look at the journey to where we are today in the age of the customer, looking back in the 1900s at the age of manufacturing and thinking about what that really means. And when you think about it, rapid industrialization sort of led to mass production of goods and services and things like that. And this led to not to a surplus really, but to a different way of business, a different way from the way it was before that. Due to that, there was a need to distribute these mass produced goods, these mass produced manufactured things, and which led us to the age of distribution, where global connections and transportation systems and logistic systems were developed to fuel this evolution of business and industry. When the internet came along and computers and circuit boards and nodes started connecting to each other and talking to each other, this led to the transportation of information in a very fast and supreme way. This sort of led to almost like an explosion of information, an explosion of business, an explosion of the way we do things. And what's happening is because of the level of information, because of the amount of information available to a consumer, to a customer, to an individual person, they are becoming empowered. Customers are becoming empowered. Buyers are becoming empowered. And this is what is leading to the next 20 years, the age of the customer, the age where businesses, products, things need to be designed for users, for people. And that's really that transformation, the transformation of where we are today and where we are going is something that we're going to explore in the webinar today. And I hope you all are able to take away what I have been able to take away on my journey so far. So just to jump in, there have been these 5 fundamental shifts. The age of information gave us an internal IT infrastructure that's in place. A lot of big companies, a lot of smaller companies also have infrastructures, information technology infrastructures. We found that also CMOs are starting to spend more on marketing-centric IT infrastructure, and what that really is and what that looks like is something that we'll talk about more. We've also found that organizations invest in cloud-based services, which helps acquire things faster, which helps make things cheaper, and which makes management much more easier and streamlined. And this is happening across the board slowly. Also, new customer relationship management, CRM. CRM traditionally, and we'll explore that as well, the traditional way of CRM and how we've seen CRM evolve and the potential it really has now is so much more than just CRM and just part of your ERP. It's almost a shift in mindset, and I think that's what we're trying to sort of talk about today, and how these changes are cate- almost creating a global, not a global, sorry, a change around the customer. How customer experience is changing organization wide, as well as from a marketing point of view. So if you look at traditional ERP, we had payroll, we had accounting, we had the internet, we had sales playing a large part of the acquisition of information and data, purchasing, inventory management, vendor integration, and CRM. Now let's explore this further. What does that look like? What does this model look like today? It's the same. If you look at it, it's still it's significantly holistic, but there's a much larger thing happening with CRM. Due to this abundance of information, this abundance of data, the knowledge that we're able to gather about people, about actions, about behavior, about the way we interact with the world and the way the world interacts with products and services. And I think that's really marvelous, and that's leading to this new age CRM solution, so to speak. And let's sort of jump into that further with an example. So let's take an example of a large retailer and dive a little deeper into how this transformation is really taking place and how we see it happening. So just to get into the example a bit more, we have 80 stores, more than 12 lakh square foot of retail space, and over 3,000 employees. The retail chain has been sort of investing in aggregating customers from a loyalty member base to a digital footprint with Facebook fans and Twitter followers, and they've been creating this almost one-to-one engagement, which we are all privy to, we are all used to. We know what this is. We know what the one-to-one engagement using all the different digital channels are: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, phone call, SMS, and email. So we've been a part of that for a while. But if you look at the value of this, the value of being able to target very specific kinds of people, then communication takes on a new meaning. Like, what is the point of having a one-to-one conversation with strangers all the time? There's a need to create communication with context. And the table you see right now is a small glance into how we are able to create contextual communication, relevant communication, and how that relevancy of communication changes customer experience. The relevancy of communication due to the intelligence that we are able to get from platforms, from sources about people, changes the way they experience a company or a brand. So there's been this planned decline in the traditional marketing spends, and we've seen this happening across multiple different companies. And at the same time, there's an increase in digital spends, and we know this. But if I had to give you an example of how smaller transformations can add up to a larger change, there's a good example of how we can bring together CRM and big data. What we did here, and it's not really an example with numbers, but just a point of view of how we used CRM data and specifically pin codes and sort of superimpose that onto a map and try to figure out what are the kind of movements, or what are the places people stay based on the store locations. So this kind of gives us a heat map of the clusters of people staying, and how could we change our communication, or how could we change the way we operate to suit them, to create a better experience for them. And I think that kind of thinking is at the heart of what customer side digital transformation really is. It's the use of knowledge and information to create a better experience for your customers. And that in turn would lead to incremental, if not exponential, change in revenue, as well as in the way you do business. So if you look at the traditional way, almost traditional, although a lot of companies still do this, the traditional digital and social strategy, you have your planned daily, weekly content, your photo updates, your videos, your statuses, your links, and things like that. But how does this change? This is, I mean, I almost still see this as a one-way communication. While yes, you can engage with people on that content, but the content may not be contextual or may not be relevant for that moment, for that specific frame of mind or need of a specific person. So with this increase in the amount of information we have, we're able to almost create very contextual, relevant information and target our communication based on that. So the customer has a very integrated social engagement now. And how do we do that? How do we try and create customized communication? And let's look into that a bit. So if you look at the traditionally, the organization used to operate in silos: marketing, HR, finance. Everything used to be sort of disparate. Everybody used to do their own things, and the business used to work, and business used to go on as usual. But what's happening now is because of all these, because of this transparency and because of the empowerment of the customer, everything is sort of turning inward. There's an integrated approach that the organization needs to have from an experience point of the customer. And each person has to keep customer experience in mind in order to lead a transformation. So let me explain it to you in this way. If I have to, if a business or if an organization has to have a customer facing practice or point of view, how do they need to coalesce around a customer? So these integrated experiences that we've been talking about, these experiences based on a large amount of information, has allowed us to very specifically measure business outcomes. So when you think of the CRM information we have or the database we have, you think of the reach of a campaign to that database. You think of the social reach of that campaign. How do we measure? We are actually able to measure the value that each of the activities we are doing, what is the business outcome? Well, this is a specific marketing example. I think that in each of the things we do, there's a large amount of measurability, and we'll give you a few examples of how we look at measuring the effectiveness. Another example of integration is you think of CRM data and you think of the members that have lapsed, the members that you can't communicate to, or the members that aren't really engaged, but they still exist on a digital platform. So what we do is we try and understand these people in a deeper way by understanding their social existence. So think of taking data, parsing it through a layer of social knowledge, creating customized or contextual communication based on the knowledge we get through social, and then inserting them back into the store almost. So as I was saying, this sort of gives us a larger point of view in the way we look at measurability. And we found that when we look at creating customized experiences or contextual communication, we've been able to get a larger return on the amount of investment we put into communication, because the communication has more value to that individual. And we've seen that happening in different forms across the board. One example, and the example that I've been using for this retailer, during one campaign, we were actually be able to get a return on investment of 43 rupees for every marketing rupee we spent. So this one-to-one sort of communication we spoke about has now changed, has now evolved into a much more enriched communication process, a much more enriched experience. And this way of thinking sort of drives a larger way of working. If you look at how do we create an integrated customer journey process through changing the way people experience things, let's look at traditional ORM. while a lot of companies are still getting the hang of or sort of learning the ropes when it comes to online reputation management. Traditionally, ORM was listening to specific keywords or search terms through the internet or on the internet, sorry, using a cloud-based listening software, and so addressing concerns, addressing queries, and creating opportunities. And that used to be the sort of limitation or value that ORM used to give us. We could manage the reputation of brands, we could listen to what people are talking about our products, our services, our company. And it used to be a very listen based thing. And while communication used to take place, while we used to be able to address issues, we used to still learn about things while we are doing it. How has that changed? Now, if we take the same thinking when it comes to ORM and we apply a layer of customer intelligence that we have been doing and we earlier spoke about when it comes to a CRM point of view. So, when you take, for example, uh, a customer had a query and that customer is actually a part of your system, there is a need to be able to identify this person. And there is an ability now to create systems or create infrastructure in a way where we are able to understand who the person is, whether it's a prospect, whether it's a customer, what is the relationship that this person has, from the language, what is the intent. And I think that is a larger value that uh, is coming into customer intelligence as a concept, and bringing that into how you deal with people or how you address customer experience or how customer experience evolves based on the knowledge you have of customers is something that needs to take place. So we were talking about customer intelligence and customer knowledge. If you look at it from a social point of view, now there are almost 28 or 29 different psychographic interests that we have access to in communication. So we're able to identify through the different kinds of communication that's taking place with the brand or with people in general in the world, what are the interests that are there in those communications for those people, and how does understanding those interests change the way we communicate? How does that affect how we talk to people or how we create an experience for people? And considering that while doing business or while creating a marketing campaign, these micro changes, the consideration of things like this is in a way customer side digital transformation. So when you look at bringing together the interests that people have or the conversations that people have with you through social or the conversations that they have with you through your loyalty program, and you add this layer of interests or this layer of knowledge of understanding what they're talking about, things change. So if you look at it from left to right, we have this universe of interest. We have these different APIs based on the platform they're on. We track the kind of conversations they're having, the words that they're using, the contexts of what the conversation is. And then you customize communication. It could be an offer for the sake of argument, using that keyword tracker and create those contextual experiences for the customers. This adds a massive amount of value in what a company does for their customers, or not for their customers, with their customers. So think of it this way. Think of the journey from being a cookie to becoming a customer. Somebody comes to a website that there's a knowledge base of understanding who that person is. There's a knowledge base of understanding how that person behaves. From a customer relation point of view, how do you understand the kind of person, the interest, their relation to your business from your CRM program, and then create this anonymous segmented audience filtering the kind of contextual information depending on where they are. So it's this entire journey from being just a cookie to your website to taking them across that journey. And I'll take you through a few, just I think one example of how we were able to do that, how we were able to look at those journeys of moving from a cookie to a customer. If you look at, I spoke about how we measure success, how we measure return on investment. So we have these seven sort of not tests but things we do almost to be able to track ROI, to track what the return is to what we're doing. So if you look at, let's go from left to right. If you look at historical comparison, we think of the value that traditional CRM gave by sending out emails or SMSs versus to a specific database, sorry, versus the value that social CRM would give. So what that means is basically if you take a certain set of people, a certain database of people, and you communicate to them through email or SMS or through your CRM program, not to discount traditional CRM, but if you add that layer of social intelligence, if you add that layer of what they like, and then you communicate to them through social and with that interest layer, what is the difference in the response rate? I think that is what historical comparison is, and that is how we try to create a differentiation between the value that we add from traditional CRM to social. Split comparison is basically we take the same base and we split it 50-50. We take half of them through social, half of them through CRM, and see the value that each one is able to return to us. The thing is, because it's a very tactical, very straightforward way of communication, we're actually able to track down to the individual, purchasing at a store or online or things like that. If you look at the D&D bases, if you look at people who we're not able to communicate to, who are in our CRM program because we're not allowed to, we're now able to do that through social CRM. We're able to take that group of people, that set of people, and target them on Facebook and on Twitter very specifically. And I think a lot of you all might already know about what A/B testing imagery is, but I think an interesting point here is when you look at traditional advertising, when you look at traditional marketing, it used to be very intuition based. It used to be how we think, how a brand manager, how a business owner thinks of communication and thinks how they want the world to see them. But now we are able to test that. We're able to see whether what we think from an intuition point of view is actually valuable or not. And that's what A/B testing is really. If you think of, you create a marketing campaign, you test it in a focus group. A focus group is small. But what if you have to take it out to a larger number of people? We have the technology now that's able to do that. And that is able to give us a much better contextual point of view and create maybe many different campaigns for many different kinds of people and target them accordingly. If you look at pure medium tracking, think of tracking the sales volume in a specific city or of a specific product or a service in a category. And based on the way that changes, we create a targeted campaign or a targeted operation to change those numbers. When you look at localized pure medium tracking, think of it basically from an event point of view. This is very specific to marketing or promoting or learning about how customers are part of an event. Think of tracking spend versus sign up versus attendees. This sort of drop off between the amount you spend, the amount that people sign up, the amount that people attend, that will sort of create this deep understanding of how people behave with your campaign. There's this interesting change that's taking place, and which in a way is leading customer side digital transformation in a big way. Is where the value of creating amazing customer experiences becomes a boardroom priority, and we observe this happen in many places. There's a need to drive digital transformation or customer side digital transformation from the top down, and that's what sort of catalyzes change within an organization, change within. So we spoke about how each department is now almost becoming customer facing, and more than customer facing, taking customer experience into consideration. And this change that's taking place in the boardroom is in a way leading that. So the customer experience is actually becoming a centralized way of working. If you look at external versus internal, the difference, or the different things that now are a part of the entire social hub where we aggregate and we analyze the data and the way people behave across these different parts. So if you look at external, we have Facebook, there's Twitter, YouTube, and the blogs, and we can create these different filters based on the platforms that they're on, by listening to them, by understanding their interests, by understanding who they are, whether they're influencers or not, by understanding the content or the context at what they're talking about, and change the way we understand them, or sharpen the way we understand them by getting clearer insights, unlocking themes of what people are talking about, finding opportunities of the kind of things people are talking about, and even go down to suggesting what we could do in the future. So we've sort of been through the different, or the smaller nuances, or the smaller aspects of a larger change that's taking place, which is the transformation from a customer point of view. But what if we wanted to create this? What if we wanted to design this? How would we go about doing that? And what are the different examples we could give you of things we've done which have enabled that? So it's almost thinking about uh, what are the different ways in which we can think about or go about designing customer experiences with a few examples. So the first one, and let me paint a picture for you here. Think of a large group company and an ever-expanding portfolio, an ever-expanding product portfolio, and by extension, an ever-expanding customer information and customer experiences. So how do you, when you think about that, what is the need we need to, what could we do here? We have this wealth of information, we have this large amount of things that are taking place, a large amount of interactions that are taking place with different parts of an entire group. There are many, maybe different companies within that group, and each business has their own sort of customer base, their own way of working, their own way of addressing and marketing, and there's a myriad, or a large amount of value that this group has. So what we did here, and this is actually an example, is we sort of created a single view of the customer across the group. So what that means is, basically, if you take customer, let's say customer A, and that customer is connected to the group through these many different companies within the group, and not look at them, not look at the customer as, yes, he's connected to just one company, and it's what is the amount of knowledge or the amount of value that we can get when you look at the behavior. It could be from a transactional point of view, could be from the purchase intent point of view, or what that customer has purchased. It could be even just behavior. So there's a lot of information that we can gather across the different kinds of, or these different kinds of companies within a single group. And the value of knowledge about a single person, it's almost that we can paint a picture of what this customer is or who this customer is, what are the kinds of things he or she is interested in, and how could we better create a contextual experiences with the group and those specific companies. So if you look at what I'm trying to say in action, from the top left, you see this sort of customer life cycle, or this journey, so to speak, from a pre-purchase service to a repurchase, and the entire journey across the way. What we're able to do now is we're able to, because of this wealth of information and this need to be able to categorize that and find value in that information, we're able to find a method to that madness. We're able to find the way people are experiencing the company and alter that or change it or make it better, from the onboarding process to the post sale surface to the ownership experience, to each and every nuance or each and every point of contact within this entire journey. And I think that is what we're trying to do. We're trying to understand what are these nuances, how can we make it better, how can we add value to the customer. And I feel that way of thinking is what is really driving customer side digital transformation, and the sort of driver is this wealth of information. Moving to the right, we have these three circles, which is with business exchanges, customers, and brands. What we're seeing here, and what we're trying to say really, is the convergence of these things and the resultant experiences because of that convergence, because the convergence of who, what, why the customer is, uh, who, what, why the brand is, and the way the business operates. When these three things come together and they create experiences that we can design, experiences that we can control through processes, and keeping those that central vision or that central promise to a customer in mind. So this sort of creates a framework for us to operate within. And moving down below that, the real bedrock of this is the culture of the company, and that's where that top down way of thinking, where customer experience as a part of the boardroom really comes into play. It's everything is built for customers, but on a bedrock of culture, where processes, technology, analytics, and measurement are very strong pillars as a part of that structure. And when you look at executability, you look at uh, being able to take to the market, so to speak, of the things that we are doing, the things that we're considering. When you look at leads, when you look at services or service management, and I mean, while these are just a few examples, I think the larger point here is to, it's almost, while since there's this view of the customer, there's this holistic understanding of different kinds of individuals connected to a business or a company. How does how does marketing change to that person? Considering things like that is really important. So almost building like a real-time, customized contextual experience. When you look at inquiry or walk-ins or test drive from an auto perspective, or even down to purchase, on it's we're able to almost calendarize experiences based on the way based on the kind of intelligence that we are building of these customers, based on this single view of the customer. I think moving on, another example is um, building customer intelligence. So another situation, there's a need to understand a customer base of 4 million different people. Now, those are a lot of different kinds of people. I mean, there's one thing to look at it are different data points, but another thing is to think of 4 million people in a room, or a sufficiently larger room, and understanding these different kinds of people, the things that they're interested in, the things, the different ways that we can segment them. And we've been through that with traditional statistical thinking, or traditional analytical thinking. So what we're able to do here is think of three different components. Think of the amount of knowledge that we're able to get from campaigns, the way people behave with the campaigns that we put out to them. Initially, sorry, this is to understand the context of things that people would like to be a part of. Maybe even try to drive loyalty through repeat purchases by talking to them about things that they like, or not talking at them really, but telling them, creating campaigns that they would actually find valuable, and learning from those campaigns. I think a good way of looking at customer intelligence and building customer intelligence is to create a method or a process while putting out campaigns to learn. I mean, one thing is to understand click-through rates, to understand the things people are clicking on. Another thing is to understand the context of what those things are, the context of why that behavior is taking place, and how can we enable deeper learning. While there may not be a definitive example here, but the way of thinking uh, is what the transformation really is. And driven by the analytics of this information, understanding how differently we could segment customers, and how communication could change to those segments, how we could change the way we predict based on the different kinds of knowledge we gather, and how marketing in a sense evolves due to that. Another example is to look at the sorry another example is another situation where there's a need to drive a differentiated customer experience by creating a holistic point of view of the customer. So there was a large amount of information fragmented across a bank. Think of it that way. Um, there are different kinds of accounts, there are different kinds of products the bank has, or services. There's a lot of different kind of information about customers siloed into these different sort of segments. So again, what we try to do here is we try to create almost a data mart, a customer experience data mart of over 900 different customer behavior variables. So based on the different kinds of behavior with the bank, there could be a lot of different kinds of ways we could understand this. We were able to create a sort of point of view of how we could create a plan for creating customer experiences. So if you look at the customer experience mart at work, and you look at the onboarding process very simply, and creating a perspective of that, how could our understanding, by bringing together the different types of data across a banking infrastructure, change or evolve the way we understand the onboarding process? So the top part of the slide sort of takes you through a 60 day example of how we are able to evolve our onboarding process based on the amount of value we are able to add by bringing different kinds of data together and creating a holistic view of the customer. Another part is at the bottom right is this being able to, I spoke about being able to bring together multiple data sources. Uh, a large amount of work and a large amount of attention needs to be paid into what we're doing when we bring that data together. How are we integrating it? What is that single view we're trying to build? How are we trying to create these different segments? And that, in a way, will influence the way we create experiences, because that's going to result, the way we do that will result in the way we market, in the way we communicate, in the different kinds of contexts that we end up creating through the different kinds of engagement channels that we end up using, and then sort of continuing that cycle with the customers by understanding how they are behaving with what we're doing and learning from that and then repeating it. So creating this way of thinking as a process is what's really needed here. Another example and another situation would be where there was a need to create customer intelligence based on uh, the cross sell and upsell strategy, which we wanted to create for a mutual fund business. So here, what we did was we created a center, or not a center really, an analytics hub, which is basically a team that was able to derive insights from customer engagement. So what do we do really? So when you think about building customer insight, let's look at it from a few point of view of a few questions. So if the business asks us, can we engage with our customers more and get a better share of his wallet? What do we look at? How do we build intelligence to be able to answer this question? We look at behavior patterns. We understand the different kinds of way they behave with equity, with debt, and things like that. And I think the real point here is to define the questions, define what we are really looking at. And I really believe that a lot of learning is not in finding the right answers, but being able to ask the right questions. And this, well, here are six examples of questions we asked, and six examples of intelligence or insight we built. It's not really limited here. There's an infinite, almost infinite amount of insight that we could get depending on the different things we do. The point is to be able to see that, to be able to facilitate that, and to be able to create a organizational process, or more than an organizational process, a way of thinking to make sure that everybody is aligned, or every stakeholder is aligned to thinking this way. And that I feel is a real transformation, is a real enabler of customer side digital transformation. So we've been through a lot of different kinds of things. We've a lot of different perspectives, a lot of different smaller changes that could lead in when summating that could lead to a larger transformational change. And almost this digital transformation blueprint from where we want to be and to how we're going to get there. And it's well, there's a lot within this slide. If you look at it, it's really quite simple. It's about clarity. It's about really understanding what you're doing and how you're going to do it. And that's what I think transformation is all about. While keeping the customer at the center of it, by keeping learning about that customer at the center of it, and creating metrics, creating journeys, creating frameworks, prioritizing, creating structure and building technology, or creating processes, or deriving strategy and goals and objectives, refining that, reviewing that, and creating this entire massive ecosystem as a way of working, or as a way of of existing. And that's really what we see the need here. While there are a lot of very specific things organizations could do, and next we'll talk about really how you could begin doing that. I think the point here is intent really, and the point is understanding customer side transformation from customer side digital transformation from your industry or your company's context, and driving that. So if you look at your company and a starting point of from where you could actually begin the never-ending, almost never-ending. It is. I think it's a never-ending process, because it's the process involves bettering the company, or bettering oneself really. So the starting point of your customer side digital transformation, and what could that be? So what we've done really is we've created this marketing maturity model, uh, which has four parts: customer strategy, data management, analytics usage, and campaign management. It's basically aimed at understanding what your organization and what you currently think about or currently understand your state of uh, marketing maturity or customer marketing maturity. So it's basically it's think of 120 plus questions that is targeted to many different levels within your organization, to be able to get an understanding or gauge uh, where in the transformational process or in the customer side transformational process your company currently sits. I think it's a good starting point because it gives you a sort of picture of where your company currently is, and it sort of enables an understanding of within these four different parts, how you currently rank or how your current state is and what you could do to better that or take it forward, so to speak. So getting a little specific, from for customer strategy, or the customer strategy part of the maturity model. It's again four parts. How have you mapped your customers? Is there an understanding of how the journeys of the customers are? What is your strategy when it comes to prospecting and acquiring new customers? And what is the process over there? Understanding that and sort of rating that. Understanding the strategy for customer growth and retention. So this is sort of give you a point of view on where you are from, where you rate from a customer side digital point of view and customer strategy. The next is data management, and you really start at a validation process, or and understanding the quality of data really, the quality of data you have, uh, understanding the variables or the derived variables in that data, understanding how the you acquire or the transfer of data happens from creation to analysis really, and how do you aggregate that and automate insight generation or understanding. Then analytics, how do you measure, what are the different kinds of things you measure, what is the breadth of analytics, what are the objectives that you set for your analytics, what are the kinds of different kinds of analytical methodologies you have implemented, and what kind of documentation you're doing. From a campaign management or execution point of view, how are you tracking it? What are your rules of engagement? How is this integrated to a larger point of view? What are you learning from your campaigns and how effective they are? So very simply put, a few sample questions. I mean, from a customer strategy point of view, and we spoke about the components. Is does your organization have an accepted, documented definition of what customer relationship value of customer relationship value? So, I mean, if you have to answer that question right now, and maybe while I really can't really hear your answers, but we'll sort of have a small round of question and answers after this, and I'm sort of coming to the end now. You could just type in your questions in the chat, and we could maybe I could try and we could discuss that further. Moving on, I think from a data management point of view, one question could be, and it is part of this extensive question system, to be able to answer, to be able to find value of or find the state of what your current transformation section is. Do you have summarized role tables? I mean, example, do you have we spoke about having a single view of a customer. Does that exist? Does that need to be there? What is the value that you could derive from understanding how a single customer interacts with different parts of your company or different parts of your group of companies? Also, do you have a standard set of KPIs that are tracked on a periodic basis? What are the things that you're understanding? What are the insights that you're getting from tracking those KPIs? And is there really a control set aside for campaigns? And while these are just four very simple sample questions, I think I hope I have been able to sort of communicate where this is going really, and what it's trying to uncover. So at the end of it, this model is aimed at being able to rate your company from either being a beginner, an aspirer, an experimenter, how proficient, or an innovator, and sort of we've created this ranking systems based on the answers of this model to sort of peg these companies. So I think this would be a good place to start to analyze what stage of custom side digital transformation your company really is in, and what are the parts or what are the segments in which uh, things could evolve really. And in conclusion, I think the real key takeouts is that, and I think I've said this already, is that customer side digital transformation is a new organizational focus. It is a new way of thinking more, and which facilitates uh, new technology, the use of new technology, the use of new models, the use of an evolved customer understanding or a customer focused understanding, and an operational and the operational change that takes place due to that customer focus. Also, that new technology is helping integrate customer management solutions into a company-wide ERP system, and it's allowing us to get a lot of customer intelligence and value in the kinds of people who are our customers. Instead of having third is instead of having this siloed customer data that we really don't know what to do with, is overlapping that with big data, with open data, and trying to find meaning or value in that, and evolving our customer experience based on that, and really helping us integrate different kinds of data and create that intelligent one-to-one engagements with people we know, and not really just having one-to-one engagements with strangers. And the real need is that every contact, every engagement, every interaction, every point of connection with a customer and a company needs to be measured, analyzed, and value needs to be derived from that. I think that's really one of the larger messages here. So I think this is sort of the end of what really I've been talking about. Uh, it'll be great if you guys have any questions that I could answer, or any points of view that I could sort of share with everybody else. So I'll just wait for a couple of questions to come in, and then we could maybe discuss that or get into a conversation about that. Okay, so one interesting question that's come here is, could you elaborate more on the phrase you used, cookie to customer? Sure. So I think what I really meant there was, think of it this way: when a random visitor comes to your website, you and what really happens there? Right now, I'm sure a lot of us have an analytics process in place, or understanding the flow of a user through a website, understanding how that person has interacted, where he or she has sort of dropped off, and how we can sort of continue that conversation. So think of it this way. Uh, One simple example, and I'm sure each of y'all have, or a lot of y'all have experienced this already, is that you go to a website, and then you see ads related to that website on social, on Facebook. You see this sort of remarketed advertising. Now the point is that right now the remarketing is good. Remarketing is an enabler to that enables us to continue the conversation. But does it end there? Should it end there? How do we continue that? So say we create a unique ad, an ad that we track uniquely, that we know that people who click on this ad are able to. We know that people who click on this ad have come from the website, because that's the specific remarketing that they see. And how does that relationship build from being a visitor on the website to clicking on the ad and going somewhere, and then that interaction changes? Are we tracking those things? Is that sort of thinking in place? That's really what I meant, is understanding from how a person is a cookie on a website, and how that sort of evolves, and how we could nurture that person along the way to becoming a customer, by doing many different kinds of things, and keeping that person engaged from a contextual point of view. Great. I don't think there are any other questions. So thank you all for being a part of this. I hope you all have enjoyed this as much as I have. I hope you guys have a great day, and the rains don't trouble you if you're in Bombay. Thank you once again. Have a great day.